Amazon is shutting down its Kindle Vella program. And as a Kindle Vella author, I have to say, I am not surprised. What's that? You say you've never heard of Kindle Vella before? Well, that's because Amazon did an awful job of promoting it. You see, in Kindle Vella, writers could serialize a story, releasing it one chapter at a time, rather than releasing an entire book at once or releasing a single short story as an installment. But Amazon didn't really do a very good job of explaining how it worked to people, especially the payment system, where rather than just paying for the chapter that you wanted to read, which they called episodes for some reason, by the way, rather than just paying for the chapter you wanted to read, you had to buy tokens ahead of time. Then you would use those tokens to purchase the episodes of the story. It was confusing and inconsistent, and it turned everyone who tried to figure it out into your grandmother trying to figure out how to use a new app. Why am I buying tokens instead of just buying the chapter? I only need 30 tokens. Why do I have to buy them in bundles of 200? Why is this chapter 32 tokens and this chapter is 27 tokens? My back hurts. The thing is, the serialization format is a proven winner. Apps like Wattpad have been using it for a long time with great success. But when Amazon decided to try to cut into that market the same way they did with audiobooks and comic books, well, they sort of fell flat on their faces. And it kind of makes me sad, because after the program is completely shut down in a few days, nobody will be able to go back and read the original version of my story, Other People's Heroes, Little Stars. That's not the sad part. The original version needs work. Now, the sad part is that means that I'm going to have to get my ass in gear and finally finish editing the next two parts of the trilogy to release in traditional book form. But the truth is, people do like serialized stories. They've been using it ever since stories were invented. Television and comic books run on serialization all the time. Stephen King experimented with it in the 90s with his series The Green Mile, which turned out to be one of the most complete novels he's ever written. King himself was inspired by Charles Dickens, who released most of his most famous works in installments through various literary magazines of the time. In the United States, people would actually go to the docks and wait for the boat to arrive, bringing them the next installment of Oliver Twist. Which is why, back in the 1800s, they called Charles Dickens the Taylor Swift of our generation. And of course, the oldest stories we have were all told orally by storytellers who would gather everybody around the fire and tell them their stories every night. And they'd cliffhanger you too. Will Odysseus and his men survive the sirens? Can they escape from the island of the Lotus Eaters? And what will he find when he seeks out the blind prophet Tiresias in hell? Find out tomorrow, same odd time, same odd channel. Serial stories are great. They allow you time to grow an audience, and they allow that audience to turn into a community. Even with novels, the biggest fandoms aren't for individual books, but for series. Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, The Hunger Games. To Kill a Mockingbird may be a classic, but when's the last time you saw anybody cosplaying as Atticus Finch? Okay, that would basically just be the same thing as a Clark Kent cosplay, but you get the point. Serialization is a wonderful storytelling format, and it's a little sad that the biggest platform in the business couldn't figure out how to make it work. On the other hand, it's also a little cathartic to see that their plans for world domination fell flat for a change. I'd like to try serialization again someday, but even before they announced that Vella was shutting down, I knew that wasn't going to be the place I would do it. It's a great way to tell a story, if you can find the right platform.